Have you ever looked up at the night sky and just thought like, whoa, is this all just a big cosmic accident or could it be like designed for us?
Oh man, it's a question that's, like you said, been around forever. And for the longest time, it did feel like something we could only think about, philosophically. But there's this new research, and it suggests that we might actually be able to test this idea, like scientifically.
Wait, really? That's wild. How do you even like begin to test something like that?
Well, it all starts with this concept called the Anthropic Principle. Have you heard of that one? It's the Goldilocks idea that the
Yeah.
universe is, just right for life to exist.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it. But I always thought the Anthropic Principle was more of a philosophical concept, not something you could actually test.
Right. That's been like the main criticism of it for decades. But this new research proposes a way to actually put it to the test using observations from cosmology.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What kind of test are we talking about here?
So it all hinges on these three key pieces of the cosmic puzzle: cosmic inflation, dark matter, and axions.
All right, let's break that down. Cosmic inflation. That's the idea the universe expanded really fast right after the Big Bang.
Exactly. And when I say incredibly fast, I mean mind-bogglingly fast. We're talking going from smaller than an atom to the size of a grapefruit in a fraction of a second.
Whoa, I remember reading somewhere that it happened in like 10 to the power of negative 36 seconds. Is that even a real number?
Oh, yeah, it is. And it just shows you how extreme the early universe was. So the idea is that the conditions during this inflationary period, they determine the shape of the universe we see today. Everything from galaxies to stars to planets.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection.
Yeah.
So if we can understand cosmic inflation, we might get clues about why the universe is the way it is. But how does that tie into testing the Anthropic Principle?
Well, the test basically asks, if cosmic inflation happened in a specific way, would it support the idea that the universe's initial conditions were fine-tuned for life?
Interesting. So it's not just about whether inflation happened, but how it happened. Can we actually observe something like that?
We might. There's a satellite mission called Lightbird set to launch in 2032, and it will look for evidence of primordial gravity waves, basically ripples in space-time from the Big Bang. If they find these waves, it would be a huge piece of evidence supporting cosmic inflation.
So Lightbird is like a time machine looking back at the very beginning of the universe. That's incredible. Okay, but what about the other two pieces of the puzzle, dark matter and axions? What are those all about?
Well, dark matter is one of the biggest mysteries in astrophysics. We can't see it directly, but we know it's there because of its gravitational effects on galaxies.
Right, it's like the invisible scaffolding holding the universe together.
Exactly. Now, one of the leading candidates for what dark matter is made of is a hypothetical particle called the axion.
Axions. That rings a bell. Didn't they come about to explain something else entirely?
You're right. What's fascinating is that axions were initially proposed to solve a problem in particle physics, but then scientists realized they fit the bill for dark matter surprisingly well. And if axions exist, they would have been created in huge numbers during cosmic inflation.
So they could be this missing link between cosmic inflation and dark matter. I'm starting to see how the pieces fit together, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how all of this actually tests the Anthropic Principle.
Think of it like a cosmic detective case. Lightbird is searching for clues at the scene of the crime, the very beginning of the universe. And these black hole surveys are like checking for fingerprints to see if axions were really there. If all three of these things check out inflation, axions, and dark matter, well, that would make our universe's current configuration pretty improbable.
Okay, but how does improbable equal not designed for life? I would think it's the opposite, right? If our universe is so unique, wouldn't that suggest it was designed for us?
That's where it gets tricky. The Anthropic Principle says that a universe like ours with life-supporting conditions should be relatively probable. But if our universe is incredibly unlikely because of all these specific conditions, it would challenge the Anthropic Principle. It would suggest there might be some other explanation for why the universe is the way it is.
So it's like winning the lottery. It's lucky but not impossible. But winning the lottery 10 times in a row with the same numbers, that's when you know something else is going on.
Exactly. It would make us rethink our whole understanding of how the universe came to be. It's a pretty big deal.
This is all fascinating, but I bet you're wondering, so what? What does any of this have to do with me? Well, that's the real crux of the matter. Because if these tests don't support the Anthropic Principle, it really makes you wonder, are we just a cosmic accident?
That's a heavy question. And I bet it has some pretty profound implications for how we view ourselves and our place in the universe.
It definitely does. It forces us to confront some of the biggest questions about our existence. But before we get into all that, let's talk about how scientists are actually looking for axions and dark matter. All right, let's dive into that.
So as we were saying, there are all these experiments going on right now, and they're trying to directly detect dark matter particles, whatever those might be. But finding axions is especially hard.
Oh, why is that? If they were created in such huge numbers during cosmic inflation, shouldn't they be, like, everywhere?
Yeah, they are likely everywhere, but they interact with regular matter so weakly that they're, like, super difficult to detect. It's kind of like trying to catch a whisper in a hurricane.
Okay, yeah, that sounds tough.
Yeah.
So how do scientists even go about looking for something like that?
Well, one way is by looking at these supermassive black holes, the giants at the centers of galaxies. Well, their spin-to-mass ratio could be affected by axions, and that's something we could potentially observe.
So if axions are hanging out around black holes, we might be able to see their gravitational fingerprints. That's really clever. But let's go back to that big what-if question. What if these experiments don't support the Anthropic Principle? What if the universe isn't fine-tuned for life?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that's puzzled philosophers and scientists, for centuries.
Does it mean we're just a cosmic fluke? Like a random blip in this vast and indifferent universe?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. But even if the Anthropic Principle doesn't hold up in its current form, it doesn't necessarily mean our existence is meaningless.
That's reassuring, I guess. But I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. If the universe wasn't made for us, what does that say about our place in it all?
Well, it could mean that our understanding of the universe right now is just incomplete. Maybe there are other factors we haven't even considered that influence the initial conditions of the universe. Or perhaps there's a deeper principle at play, something we haven't grasped yet that guides the universe towards certain outcomes, including life.
So it might not be design in the traditional sense, but more like a set of rules that govern how the universe unfolds, and life just happens to be one of the outcomes of those rules.
Exactly. It's like baking a cake. You've got certain ingredients and you follow a recipe, but there's still some room for variation. Maybe life is just one of the delicious possibilities baked into the cosmic recipe.
I like that analogy. But here's another thought. What if those rules of the universe aren't so set in stone? What if there's more randomness and chaos than we realize?
That's a fascinating idea. Maybe the universe is more like a jazz improvisation than a carefully orchestrated symphony, There's structure and harmony, but also room for spontaneity and surprise.
And maybe that's where we come in as these conscious beings who are capable of observing and interacting with this grand cosmic experiment.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe that ability to observe and interact is even more remarkable in a universe that wasn't specifically designed for us. It could be like a testament to the incredible resilience and adaptability of life.
Wow, when you put it that way, it makes our existence seem even more special. Like we've defied the odds just by being here.
Right. There's a certain awe-inspiring beauty in that, even if it is a little unsettling to think we might just be a cosmic accident. But let's not forget the other side of the coin. What if these experiments do confirm that dark matter is made of axions? What if the evidence points towards the universe being fine-tuned for life after all?
Yeah, that's a whole other set of implications to unpack. What would that mean for us? Would it make our lives more meaningful? Would it change how we view our purpose in the universe? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think those are questions everyone would have to answer for themselves. But, on a scientific level, it would be a monumental discovery. It would mean that our models of cosmology are accurate and that we're really starting to understand the fundamental laws governing the universe.
Yeah, it would be a huge victory for science. But I'm more interested in the personal and philosophical side of things. Would knowing the universe is fine-tuned for life make us feel more at home, like we belong here?
It could for some people. It might give them a sense of purpose knowing that they are part of something bigger than themselves.
Like discovering that you're not just a random guest at a party, but you're like the guest of honor.
Exactly. But for others, it might not change their perspective at all. Or it could even feel a little confining. Like if the universe is specifically designed for us, does that mean we're somehow limited? Does it restrict our free will or our potential to evolve beyond what's predetermined?
Ooh, that's an interesting point. It's like the difference between believing you're writing your own story versus reading one that's already been written for you.
That's a great way to put it. And it highlights the fact that even a scientifically confirmed anthropic principle wouldn't give us all the answers. It would just raise a whole new set of questions, about consciousness, free will, and the nature of existence itself.
Which is kind of how science always works, right? Every answer just leads to more questions.
Precisely. And that's what keeps the journey of discovery so endlessly fascinating. So we've got these two potential outcomes. Either the anthropic principle is supported and we maybe feel a little more at home in the universe, knowing it's conducive to life, or it's disproven and we have to grapple with a whole new set of implications about our place in the cosmos.
That's quite a fork in the road. And it sounds like there's no easy answer either way.
Definitely not. It's a question that has challenged thinkers for centuries, and it's one that will likely continue to challenge us for many years to come. But that's what makes this whole topic so captivating, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we're still just scratching the surface of what we know about the universe.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to think about all the discoveries that are yet to be made.
I completely agree. And the best part is, we might even have some answers within our lifetime. These experiments are happening now, the data is coming in, and the possibilities are truly mind-blowing.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, let's take a step back and recap what we've covered in this deep dive so far.
We started with this age-old question, is the universe designed for us? And we introduced the Anthropic Principle, the idea that the universe's conditions are just right for life.
Then we got to the really juicy part. This new research that proposes a way to actually test the Anthropic Principle using observations of cosmic inflation, dark matter, and axions.
We talked about the two potential outcomes. If dark matter is not primarily made of axions, it casts serious doubt on the Anthropic Principle. But if it is made of axions, it supports the idea that the universe is in some way fine-tuned for life.
And regardless of the outcome, this research is leading us to some profound new insights about the nature of the universe and our place within it.
It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know, and that the journey of discovery is far from over.
Which is both humbling and incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away with the vastness of it all, I want to bring this back down to earth for a moment and talk about what all of this means for us as individuals.
Yeah.
We've been talking about, this big question, is the universe designed for us? And the potential scientific test for the Anthropic Principle. But I think it's important to remember that even if we had a definitive answer, right, it wouldn't necessarily change how we live our lives every day.
That's true. It's easy to get kind of lost in the grand cosmic scale of things. But ultimately, we all have our own individual journeys to navigate.
Right. And those journeys are shaped by so many things,
Mm.
like our relationships, our experiences, our hopes and dreams. But I'm curious, do you think knowing whether or not the universe is designed for us could have a subtle impact on how we see things?
I think for some people, it could. It's like anything else. Our beliefs and worldviews really shape how we interpret our experiences. So for someone who finds comfort in the idea of a universe that's fine-tuned for life, knowing that the Anthropic Principle is supported by science might deepen their sense of belonging or purpose.
Like feeling even more connected to everything.
Exactly. But for someone who, leans towards a more random or chaotic view of the universe, confirmation of the Anthropic Principle might not resonate as strongly. It might even feel a little too neat and tidy.
Yeah, I get that. It's
Yeah.
like some people prefer a mystery with an open ending while others need a clear resolution.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of this whole topic. There's no right answer. It's all about how each individual takes these big questions and makes sense of them for themselves.
It's a good reminder that even with scientific discoveries, there's still room for individual interpretation and meaning-making.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we should celebrate. The universe is this vast and mysterious place. And the fact that we can even think about these questions shows our unique capacity for wonder and curiosity.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. Regardless of whether the universe is designed for us or not, we're here right now experiencing this incredible journey of life. And that's something amazing in itself.
Well said. I couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of cosmology and philosophy and, the meaning of it all. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you some new perspectives to think about. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars and keep asking the big questions.